So let's begin. So we have been putting a lot of emphasis on the what are the different kind of cloud providers are there, cloud characteristic, and so now this lecture belongs to that we know all these things. Then how to assess the cloud means if my organization decide to move to the cloud, or you are working in a company and they are thinking about going to cloud, then what are the different topics are important to keep in the consideration to assess a particular cloud provider, or also assess the business need of my company, whether my company business need is getting satisfied with the cloud. And in the second half of this lecture will be the cost benefit analysis of the cloud, so that can help understanding whether moving to the cloud is beneficial for the company or not. So overview, as I said, is to analyze what are the steps required to assess a particular cloud service provider or a business need, whether they want to go to the cloud or not, like cost, implication, impact, risk. So in this, we are going to evaluate different steps, how to assess a cloud. This is a guideline. Uh, this type of guideline is being used in company, or this kind of guideline is given in certain certification which company go through, that whether they have followed it or not, or it is kind of cookbook available to the company, or you can call it a cheat sheet available to the company, different company to do it. So in this, we are going to do further analysis. So this is the objective. Before moving to the cloud, organization should assess whether they are ready. Whether they are ready for the cloud. Ready means whether their employee are knowledgeable about the cloud, whether they understand the security and the risk of the cloud, and many other aspects related to moving to the cloud has to be evaluated. Then let's say we decide to go to the cloud. Then there should be alternative solutions should also be there. What if moving to the cloud was not useful, or it has an impact, or evaluation was not done in a proper way? There are cloud metrics are there, which is not part of our course. So there are many point parameters are there. Based on that, people can evaluate even the cloud security. The CCM metrics are there. But we are going through the basic guideline, like what will be the risk if we move to the cloud, and we should have, if there is a problem in moving to the cloud, how can we come back? And moving to the cloud is not simply like I'm paying for the fee for the pay per use for the cloud. There are fees involved during the assessment period. The employee who are put on evaluating that what are the different aspects by which we can move to the cloud. And also if the failure happen, returning also is evaluated. And during the cloud, if everything goes fine, when going to the cloud, there are certain people who will be on doing the like cloud administrator or cloud engineer. The number of employee requirement will be reduced if someone is going to the cloud, but there will be a few employee requirements still there. So those has to be evaluated. So the more or less in a nutshell point is that the initial preparation is important, and the company who are a mid-sized company like 40, 50 employee, they do all this kind of evaluation. I was a part of this kind of evaluation. So I was being an intern in a company, and I had been given a task in the US. That was a small company. They used to make software for schools, education management. So they wanted to, they were putting their software on the dedicated server. Now they wanted to move to the cloud. So I was involved with to evaluate high availability, means how much availability they are looking for, and what is the meaning of high availability. That was in year 2011. So they did a very careful analysis, and after that they moved to the cloud service provider. So the initial preparation is very, very important. So now when we are going to the cloud, first has to be evaluated that what is the business need, whether my company is document intensive, let's say a company who is very much paper oriented. For example, a law firm. Law firm is highly paper oriented. Whether they move to the cloud, their business to the cloud is going to be useful or not. Now, if my company is a bank, right? Now, bank, what happens that bank has a requirement that they have to process at certain point of time 100,000 transaction within a fraction of second. Like when a salary day is there or payday is there, at 12 o'clock, 11th of every month, midnight, the salaries are credited in UIT. And that time, with a fraction of second, every account has to, the salary transaction has to be there. And we are talking about if we go to a larger population where more clients are there, for example, the Indian Railway, they have daily around 200 million, 200 to 2 million, 20 million to 200 million customers are actually trying to book ticket in the trains. So if that kind of environment is there, then moving to the cloud will be useful. But if merely if I'm running a 7-Eleven type of shop, and moving to the cloud may not be useful. So a need of the business has to be evaluated. So when we going for the need of the business to be evaluated, when we are talking about cloud, so in the cloud there are different types of, means when we are not doing in our premise, so there are services like hosting everything on cloud or hosting on a dedicated hosted application, using cloud versus licensed software vendor. So currently we will look more into it in the next slides. So what I mean by the hosted application. So hosted applications are software as a service. For example, those solutions are allow user to execute and operate software application entirely from the cloud, but a recurring subscription is there. For example, our UIT is on the using the Microsoft, let's say Office 365. And now UIT infrastructure, if we have to access outside the UIT, then we have to use a virtual private network. So hosted application are not web enabled. It has to be accessed via virtual private network. Like if I have a company in Tromsø and I have a company also office in Bergen and also in Oslo. So I'm hosting my software, I'm using this hosted application, which is software as a service available, and that is on which my company many tasks are oriented. So my employee in a Bergen can also access it via VPN. Employee in Oslo can also access it via VPN. So that based on the subscription every month, the charges will be paid. Though those hosted applications are also on the cloud, but those are accessed via the VPN. When I'm saying the cloud application, that means that is completely a software program, which is a cloud base, and it can be accessed via internet. And so means in this case, we are developing a software. Let's say we are developing a software, and our software, I'm an IT company, I'm developing a software and I'm putting my software, which we have developed on the cloud to be accessed or to be sold as a service to my client. So here the company is developing the cloud application and they are putting on the cloud. For example, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a cloud app, and WhatsApp is not providing it as an hosted application. They are putting it on the cloud and people are using it. Now, to see the comparison of it, like hosted, that means it is on-premise. So if I'm hosting an application, I'm using a hosted application, that means a lot of thing is in control of our hand, especially the security. If the need of the company is highly more security they need, then they like to host on the hosted application. They like to use hosted application. So in that case, the security is in our control. We can make it highly secure. And in case of hosted application, the architecture can be custom. We can say what architecture we want to use because all the things are in our control. But when we are moving on the cloud, what benefit we are getting is a cost benefit. Like when we say we are going on a cloud, we are putting our app on the cloud, then we are just doing a pay as you go model. And we don't have to buy the hardware, we don't have to buy the software, we don't have to put all the money, the one who is going to manage the things. So, so cost benefit we are getting it. Right? And also in cloud, we get the flexibility. Like whenever a new software upgrade comes or a new hardware upgrade comes, the cloud provider manages it. So, and easily we can get the best uh, software at the moment, the good hardware at the moment. But for hosted on application, it has to be planned. But what drawback is there that we have to stick with the architecture provided by the cloud service provider. That is a service-oriented architecture. So whatever architecture they are giving, we have to make our cloud application based on that. While in hosted, we can make our own type of custom architecture. Now, in terms of operational comparison, cloud versus hosted application. So on-premise or hosted application require longer implementation. That means the planning has to be there, the code, and from the bottom to up, all the layers, software has to be made or licensed. So the implementation require big. But in the cloud, simply as we have seen, that we can take a subscription and decide what is our configuration. Moving to the cloud, implementing on the cloud-based application is fast. Like we can develop a cloud app very fast and host it. Like someone wants to start a company, I think 2-3 weeks, they can simply build an application and move to cloud and start their company. But for on-premise, it is going to take a much longer time. In on-premise, the if investment cost is big, and while in the cloud, the investment is a subscription-based billing and monthly payment is given. So to understand it, that if you want to set up a company in Tromsø, so there are two ways. One way is to buy a land and build an office and uh, buy the hardware and everything and build a completely and then move it. Or we rent a place and we move it there. So it's like that, like buying a land and building a house. It is going to take first of all long time, and also the investment will be big. While moving and renting a place and moving is fast, and but moving to a particular building is comes with its own limitation as well as flexibility. If we are making our own house, we can do a lot of customization, whatever way do we want. But when we are on a cloud, we have less customization possible as per our choice. Whatever available, we have to decide on that. Or when we are working on premise, we will need a lot of IT resources to maintain it. Let's say 99.99% service availability. That means 5 minutes of downtime roughly. So 365 days, someone has to be there to see the network or the server, whether they are down or not. 365 days, that means even 8 hours someone there. So 3 network administrator per server will be needed. So it is highly IT resource dependent, while in cloud, almost no IT involvement. One or two cloud engineer can do, and automatically configuration can be set up that we don't have to sit and watch that if the load is happening bigger or smaller, what to do. All those automatic programming can be done, and cloud manages it. We can get to receive message in our phone that if something happened, you need to decide, and that can be done very easily. Most of the time, less people is needed. On-premise, the upgrade if you want to do, if a new hardware or new server has to be put, it requires a very expensive. While in cloud, both hardware and software upgrade is very easy. We don't even know that they are doing the upgrade most of the time. Like hardware cost will be there in on-premise. There are no hardware cost in the cloud. So the business need is going to decide what kind of application we are going to do, whether we are doing the hosted application or we are going to the cloud application. As per the cloud versus the licensed software vendors, there are advantages. Like if you go into the cloud, there are economics of scale is there. The cost is low because they are been so used by many multi-tenant. So the cost is low. And at the cloud, the network resources can be optimized. We don't need a data space. We don't have to put a space for putting server, etc. Cloud has ability to optimize the connectivity. Cooling also we don't have to worry about, and security also we don't have to worry about. Cloud centers are managing it. If you want to do automation, now automation itself is a very big area. So for a simple thing is like this, the automation can be done like if our load is increasing in the server, let's say more than 70%, then create another server, like another VM, and then share the load with that. If load in the two virtual machine is go below 50%, then remove one virtual machine and put the load of the second virtual machine on the or server on the first server. So this kind of automation is possible in the cloud. While if you want to do similar kind of automation with licensed software vendor, it costs a lot and the personal resources will be required. If you are working on the cloud, there are many types of usage can be defined. Like we can say that, okay, let's say we are having a company hosted on we are selling a cinema ticket, okay, and online, and let's say China has 75,000 cinema screens, and probably few companies are there. So let's say each company has 10,000 screen. Now on 10,000 screen, a few 100,000 users are trying to buy. So the cinema theaters, what they do for the morning show, they can set, okay, price, keep it low. And for evening show, they can say, keep the price high, means or the normal. So this kind of customization is easily possible for cloud-based thing. So in general, going to the cloud is useful, but if security and other aspect which is not available in the cloud, and then having an on-premise or hosted application is a beneficial one, or something which is not, you're using it and that particular software is not available on the cloud, or there is no alternative available on the cloud, then moving to the cloud will not be useful. So far, okay. Now, evaluating the cloud computing solution. So while evaluating the cloud computing solution, there are many aspects need to be considered, like location, data privacy, network and security, service level agreement, software stack and storage, vendor lock-in, legal compliances, system testing, seasonal and peak loading. These are the few terms or technical terms which are being useful. There are many other terms, but basic what are going to be important, I am going to discuss in today's session. Location in data privacy. So the question comes, where is my data stored in the cloud? Can be a very important question. A lot of time we can define it, right? When we are creating a virtual network, okay, we can say this is a region, or we can define my data storage will be at this place. And then question comes, who can have access to my data? Means if I'm putting my data on my company important and crucial data on the cloud, who can have access to my data? Does the cloud service provider employee has access to my data or not? So these are the important questions are there. And most organization who wants to move to the cloud, they all have this as a primary concern. So the need to know exact location of data storage should be evaluated. I mean to say that we can, let's say, currently there are geographically troubled places are there, and if we are having a data center there, and we chose and that data center giving low cost, but now we think like that particular place will have trouble. So, okay, the US is a very powerful country and we want to put our data in US data center. Now we can decide that, okay, US is powerful and our data will be safe and secure, and the disaster chances are less there. But then there are laws are there for US, and as well as the further your data is from your user, the longer the time will be required to access it. Means the latency will be higher. So this kind of thing has to be evaluated. Then comes the privacy level. What type of privacy they are providing? Means and that has to be documented. So when we go for a cloud service provider, later on we will see they come with a service level agreement, and in that document they mention what kind of privacy they are providing, how private your data will be, and and that has to be documented. It cannot be verbal or written on their website. It has to be on a legal agreement document. Then the transparency. That transparency has to be maintained. That who has access to the data, whether or not they will share the data with others. Means are they sharing our data or our user statistic with other third party? That has to be taken into consideration. Like we may think like, let's say someone working in Amazon Web Services, we may think, okay, that company employee has access to my data. Actually, in the cloud, the employee will not have access to anyone's data, even if they're working in data center. Access to real hardware, very few and people will be there, and most of the time they are actually encrypted. Even the employee cannot see the data. They can have access to the data, and via the software they can move the data from one server to other. In fact, you saw in the data center, right, 80,000 servers are there, and if you go and see the statistics of server failure, in a year 15 to 20 server are going to fail for 80,000 servers, and they keep on replacing those server. And now the server which failed, then the data has to be transferred, and all those things happen very securely. People don't have access to data. In fact, going to the transparency, I have a friend who is actually a product manager of Chrome browser. 3 years ago, I met him and I asked him, so you are a product manager in the Chrome browser, right? So you can see what I am doing in the Chrome. You can because you have access to, you are a product manager, you probably have, you say no, none of us have any access to anyone's data. Data are completely encrypted, and those are managed and maintained by automation software. No one has an access. You have to be very careful that he said, I also don't have access to my own data. So that level of transparency is there. The other thing is that the regular audit should be conducted. Means we bought the cloud service, right? We say, okay, we are moving to the cloud, whether that service provider is having an external audit regularly or not. So how much audit? If you go to CA and Microsoft Azure, they have tremendous amount of audit by their own different department, as well as external auditing firms are there who goes to the cloud service provider. At different centers, they do the auditing regularly. That is to check, and you have seen also in the video. So cloud service provider should also tell that how much and how frequent their companies are undergoing audit. Then comes the network and security. The cloud solution has to be secure at every level. Means we should seek almost 0% failure. 100% means absolutely 0% failure is not possible, but we may see that close to 0% failure, and it is almost 100% secure. And with the knowledge, most of the cloud provider is actually secure. Recently, last week, the Microsoft Azure suffered a security lapse in their cloud. That was one of the biggest security lapse for the big cloud provider like Azure or Amazon or Google has seen. And they're probably going to evaluate with or under, they will put a committee to evaluate why it happens. Even with lots of security maintenance, audit, and so much things, sometimes security failure can be there. And if you go to Azure, if you are taking an Azure subscription and you are hosting your, you are taking the services, you can go and check. They have a 60 criteria. Under that 60 criteria, what points our subscription is secure, how many points we are meeting, and they have very stringent criteria. Each criteria has multiple factors to take in. Even taking 30 out of 60 as tick mark like compliant is very hard to do. So most of the time from the user side, security lapses are there, or for the ease of usability, we keep certain flaw in our subscription. Then architecture and functional design of the cloud should be reviewed. Means what type of architecture they are using. In the beginning, when we are not so much aware of cloud system, this appears to be a bit fuzzy. But let's say at UIT, the rector is at the top, then comes the vice rector, then comes the faculty head, then comes the department head. So like that, different levels are there. So in the cloud architectural design and functional design also, how different layers are there, that has to be reviewed. Service level agreement. This is a very, very important topic. It has to be, so whenever someone is going with a cloud service, they will come with a cloud service level agreement document. Like, we are going to provide service at minimum at this level. Like if we say 99.99% availability, that means 5 minutes 26 seconds, I think, is the downtime yearly will be maintained. And if more than 5 minutes 26 seconds, then there are compensation the cloud service provider provides. And and they are going to provide compensation in what form, like they are going to provide the direct cash return, or they are going to give a service level credit, that are written in the service level agreement. Then cloud service level SLA document should include an exit strategy, that what are the expectation the customer should expect for smooth transition from, I don't want, let's say we move to a particular cloud and we feel like that cloud service provider, we are not getting our desired advantage. We may be moving to another cloud can give better advantage. Later on, I will show you one example, what advantage for that is valid for current time. It may not be valid after 6 months or 3 months. So the exit strategy has to be there. I will show you the where is the lecture plan is there during the break time. Thank you. So if we go to, let's say, want to see the example of the service level agreement. So let's get diverted a little bit to a service level agreement. So if this is an example service level agreement given by Aruba, this is a very basic one. You see it's just a 2-page where it is mentioned like 99%, 99.95% uptime on annual basis. And compensation will be given as per the Article 6 of this service level agreement. So this can be a simple service level agreement where it is provided by a company called Aruba Cloud. And if you go to the Azure also, you can see the different kind of service level agreement. Like here they are mentioning virtual infrastructure, how much uptime, 99.8% uptime. Later on, we will see that how much, what does it mean by 99.8% uptime? Like they are saying that electricity will be 100% uptime. That means electricity and air conditioning based failure will never be there. That means not even a millisecond of downtime of electricity. That means they should have a backup plan of electricity failure as well for air conditioning as well. So this kind of service level agreement has to be carefully evaluated and also a bit to be understood when you are involved with the decision of your company moving to the cloud, right? So like they are mentioning that it is going to give equal to 5% of the total expenditure generated because of downtime. And this has to be evaluated whether is okay or not. And something similar if you want to see for Azure, like SLA. So this is given by 21 via net. So Azure, Microsoft Azure does not directly operate in China. In China, the Azure is available as 21 via net because of Chinese laws are like that. So 21 via net is a company who runs Microsoft Azure services. There are independent entity. So here they have mentioned like what are the SLAs for different kind of services they are giving, like for solid state disk, HDD storage disk, how much connectivity they are guaranteeing. You see 95% connectivity they are only guaranteeing for HDD device. For SSD, 99.5%. For premium SSD, they are giving 99.9%. So depending on your business need, you can choose that kind of services. So let's move back to the next part of the link I have given you. You can see for this. Now, high availability of a particular service level agreement, like if someone say that 99.9% available, That means yearly downtime is 8 hours 45 minutes. 99.9 appears like, oh my God, it is completely. But if we take a fraction of 99.9 of 365 days, then it comes out to be 8 hour 45 minute downtime. Now, if my business is okay with 8 hour 45 minute downtime in a year, my business is not that time crucial or always have to be available. For example, uh, Amazon or Netflix. Netflix cannot afford 99.9% availability. They will prefer 99.99% availability. Like they only want 5-minute, 15-second downtime for Netflix or even more. But some company can even okay with 99 or 98% availability. So as per the availability, what does it mean? Like if you want less than a second availability, then it will be 99.9999. So just so many nines are there. Okay. So software stack and storage. We have to have understanding of application is built using what kind of software stack. Like say, if we are building an application with a software stack or software provided by our cloud service provider, later on I will ask TA to show you load balancer example, that there are load balancer available by Azure, and there are many third-party load balancer are there in Azure, which can be used for the load balancing. Like tomorrow, we will be discussing what is a load balancer. So let's say if we are building our software, the cloud app we are making for our company, and using the recommended software which is available to our cloud service provider, it will save a lot of time and cost for configuration. So configuration and other issue will be less. If you are using something from outside and we are building on it, and that service is actually not provided or that is not really integrated in our cloud service provider, then it is going to give a lot of testing, etc. will be needed. Storage is also an important consideration. What type of storage we are using. We will also see next week, Friday lecture, the Azure storage solution. There are different type of storage are available in Azure and what they mean. So those are the thing has to be taken into consideration. Virtualization, we will be covering in 2-3 lecture after the end of the cloud computing, but today I will be covering in a very brief. So a cloud provider should provide a virtualization of different types. Now vendor lock-in. So vendor lock-in and legal compliance. So when we go for vendor lock-in, what is an application programming interface? So API is a very important criteria, has to be evaluated. Let's say we are selling garments, right? We are selling a garment online. It is an e-commerce company we have, and we are developing an app, e-commerce. Now, when we go and buy something, let's say we put something in a cart, right? Now, when cart has been put, then when the payment comes, then the suggestion are asked that whether you want to pay by card, you want to pay by PayPal, we want to pay by Vips, right? Now, if users select a card payment and then the API is there, which is interacting with my e-commerce app as well as the payment app. So payment app, there are companies which provide a payment app, and if the proper API is not well integrated, then you might sometime have seen that the transaction failed or the the transaction not processed, payment not been done. We have to redo it. So this kind of API support has to be taken into consideration whether we are moving to the cloud and we are using a certain kind of API because like if we are completely developing everything from the scratch, so this kind of considerations are less. But let's say we are already running a company and we want to move there, so we have certain kind of way of working and certain thing which we are using, and that is integral part of our business. And let's say WIPs, most of the people are using, and WIPs is not available to our cloud service provider. So that has to be taken into consideration, whether they provide services or they are willing to take partnership with WIPs to provide you. And if that kind of mismatch happen, then the cloud provider reduces the lock-in period, because then you can move out if you are not satisfied with the services available. So this API helps towards migration whenever it is required, and most of the cloud service provider try to support all the major API providers as much. Like if you go for Azure, they have partnership with few thousand companies, so that they can have the ecosystem on which various types of company or various types of businesses, various field of businesses can use Azure services. And they also have to maintain the legal and security requirement defined by the enterprise. Let's say we are working in a healthcare industry, and for healthcare, HIPAA, HIPAA compliance is very much needed. In fact, if you see Azure compliance, they maintain 90 types of compliance, and 60 of the compliance are country specific. Like there are Euro specific compliance, there are sector specific compliances are there. So more than 90 security compliance, legal compliance they maintain, and that they have to provide. Season and peak loading. So whenever we are moving to the cloud, sometimes our businesses are used by millions of users at the same time. For example, banking example. When the salary day is there, few 100,000 users are using the bank. So the usage of the bank in a bank website or bank app increases. So and that is a seasonal. It's not all the time they need that much. But the cloud, they choose a cloud service provider who can allow them a seasonal upscaling or loading and seasonal downscaling as well. Like it can upgrade, or within a particular time of the day, the load requirement can change. As you have seen, like if you go to New York City or big London city, and if you see the Google Map, a lot of people are using Google Map at when the office time is there, morning 8 o'clock to 8:30 or 7:30 to 8:30. So the seasonal peak happening there. And to cloud service providers should have the ability to do this upscaling and shifting the load from one server to other server, or reducing the load if when it is not needed. So Amazon provides 4 types of load balancer, and Azure currently provide 2 types of load balancer. We will discuss more about it tomorrow. For in the load balancer kind of aspect, at the moment, Amazon has better load balancer compared to Azure load balancer. One thing which Amazon provides is auto scaling up and auto downsizing of the load. Means they have a feature like auto scaling or auto load balancing. That time, if depending on the load, let's say we say if a load reaches 80% on my server, start another server and shift the load there. And if it comes down, reduce the transfer the load to one server. So that kind of logic can be written. And currently, Amazon Elastic Load Balancer provide that. At the moment, Azure does not provide that. And there are third-party load balancers in Azure are there, which does provide that. But in Amazon Web Services, that comes default. Now, this is one aspect has to be considered, and that is when we are deciding to move to a particular cloud, let's say we selected 2 cloud providers. So a testing has to be done on before actual moving. So we have to see whether they are giving a trial period. Like Azure gives 30-day trial period, and Amazon gives a 12-month trial period. So in 1 month or 12 months, you decide whether your testing or evaluation is done proper or not. If everything going smooth, then you can decide to move. Why to pay money in the beginning when and later on come to know that it is not working out? So this whether it is has to be taken into consideration that whether they are providing the trial period, in that you can do complete system testing or system functionality you can test on the cloud. So upscaling and downscaling, I have already said that cloud service provider, are they providing upscaling or downscaling when the like booking hotels during the season time, the traffic is high. So that time they should be providing upscaling of different infrastructure which is needed by the app. And when it is not, they should provide the downscaling. Virtualization is as we will discuss in a detail, but today, and this is our last, second last slide of this part, then we will have a break. Virtualization is a technique by which we can split our physical resources into many logical resources. For example, there are 3 main types of virtualization. There are many types of virtualization. So server virtualization, application virtualization, and desktop virtualization. One example we will see today only. So let's say we have a server which is 128 GB RAM and 5 terabyte hard disk is there, or a computer has this configuration. So on top of this hardware, hypervisor, which is Hyper-V, one example software available by Microsoft, or VMware, provided by VMware company, can be put on it, and that can virtualize our hardware resources. That means after that, we can decide, okay, one virtual machine or one virtual machine 8 GB RAM I want and 500 GB I want. And another virtual machine 8 GB, 500 GB, another virtual machine 16 GB, 500 GB, or another virtual machine 32 GB, 500 GB. So if we don't virtualize it, at the moment only one person can use it. But now, because of this hypervisor, we are able to virtualize our hardware. Then now this hardware can be utilized by 5 different people, and each virtual machine will act independent of other. And they are working on the same system. They will not be aware of the existence of other virtual machine unless you try to connect them. And the one virtual machine will not have access to the resources given assigned to this particular virtual machine. And we can install application on it, and we can develop application on it. We can run application on a particular virtual machine. Other will have no idea and no access to anything which is happening in this virtual machine. So they assuming that it will act like a independent computer system or independent hardware system, though it is a virtual, but internally each of the virtual machine don't have access to the other virtual machine. We will see this kind of more detail in next few lectures. So now we can have a break, and